Hello everyone, I'm Telkiney, the Nerd Navigator. I want to thank you for joining me in this video, and viewers out there watching, thanks. I hope you're having a great day, guys. So the purpose of this video will be to introduce new players that may be starting a heroic toon to try to catch up with the rest of the community, or returning players that have been out for so long they kind of want a little kind of recourse, like a reset guide on stuff they may have forgotten about, or just has been added to the game since they last played. So I'm starting with a toon that is a heroic character, although I had a different project going on, so he's got a few levels on him already. He's oh, well, let me get that out of the way there. He's already 88. You'll start out at 85. Just minor things like that, just ignore. But essentially, this is a fresh install of Everquest. And I'm just going to go through settings, how you may want to start your character, set up your interface, and kind of just something to get you going, so that you're not left wondering what's going on, because EverQuest can really be overwhelming for a first-time player, or even if you're coming back to the game. So let's start off jumping into the game here. The first thing I always do personally, whenever I come back to EverQuest, have a new install, is I check out my settings, make sure they're all set. So sometimes I'll increase my sound realism to 100%. I believe what that does is it allows distant sounds to not be as loud as when they're close together. I usually turn down my music quite a bit, to about 10% or so, and turn down the sound volume as well. I generally, like some instances, I even have sound off altogether if I'm in a raid or something like that, but in general, I turn it down just a little bit. EverQuest can sometimes have a little overwhelming sound. The next thing you want to do, always on every character, it should usually be default once you do it on the first character, I believe, but you want to click on these auto consent, guild, raid, and group. So what that's going to do is, if and when you die, and you're in a group or a raid, or even if you have guild members around that can help you out, that will allow them to actually drag your corpse, if needed, out of danger, so they can resurrect you. It's really helpful. Back in the day, we didn't have this auto stuff going on. You'd actually literally have to type out the exact character that you wanted to consent to be able to drag your corpse. So that's really helpful. Also, like, some people like the auto duck and auto stand. What that's going to do is, if you go into an area that your character's too tall, it'll automatically duck your character instead of having to push, I think it's C maybe. I usually rebind my binds, but there's a duck mechanic. It's X. Okay. I'm a frog lock, so probably don't duck a lot. Yeah, he doesn't. There you go. The frog lock animations for duck isn't quite on par there. Also, when you start out, you won't be in a guild, obviously, but I highly recommend seeking one out. Generally, there's helpful guilds. There's going to be a general channel. It's usually going to be your first channel. If you type /1, you can say hi in general. Oh, looks like that'll be the monk one. I lied. If you list, yeah, if you list, here, I'll pull this over. If you do /list, it'll tell you what channels you're currently in. So it looks like maybe, was I not set to log into generals? I assumed I was. Yeah, join general. It probably meant that the general chat was full, but you can do /join general if you spell general right. And there you go. I think max is at 400. So when I was logging in, probably was maxed out. So anyway, you can say hi. Introduce yourself to the server. FE, hey. And people generally say, hey, what's up, and whatnot. But you can also look for guilds that way. There's generally somebody will be recruiting helpful guilds, lower level, whatnot. So that's kind of a global chat. So anyone around, usually they'll be populated on that. So let's see here. The next thing we would want to do is back in our options here. You can click through yourself, click through mercs. That's helpful if you're a pet class, anything like that. That'll allow you to say if there's a target in front of you, you can click in it through your hitbox. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to, and you'd be selecting yourself if you did that. You see. So that's generally helpful because typically you don't need to click on yourself, and if you do need to click on yourself, you can click on the bar, your own bar. So the next thing, mouse look, everything like that. This is going to be what you see. You don't have to always see your name, but maybe you do want to see PC names. You don't have to show your helm. Those kind of general things that happen. Clipping plane, I think it starts off at about 75. If you have a decent computer, just max it out. If you don't, and you're actually having problems running EverQuest, changing your clipping plane maybe to 50% or something like that could help. The next thing is also spell effects. EverQuest has lots of spell effects going on. You can change that to only show your spells or your NPC spells. You can also change the how vibrant the spells are, how much, or you can change how much you can see through them. I generally will set this to around 20 or so because they will start taking up all your screen. I also only set it to myself generally also. But then there's environment, that's kind of the same thing, and then player. So player is particles on the player, like swords, weapons, that sort of thing generally. So that's good. If you're having problems with performance, anything like that, turning these down to only you or turning them off all to general will help out your frame rate and so forth. The next thing is going to be the visual settings. So I have already changed some of these. This is my normal setup. Having unlimited frames is the first one I would look at. This is going to be your frame rate off screen. If EverQuest is in the background, and that you can, right now I'm in windowed mode, but if you set it to full screen, that really is not going to matter too much, but it still can. But that's where you're going to set, like, to have, be able to click in other windows and not have EverQuest minimized, because that's what will happen in full screen mode. But anyway, active plane, I actually can have that up. Shadow plane, I generally have it around here, and that's just how far you see shadows. If you see back there, so I don't like to see all the shadows. It helps with frame rate again, but I do like to see shadows on my character versus not. It gives it sort of a cell shaded look. A lot of people in a lot of videos that I make on YouTube have asked how my EverQuest looks different than theirs. Generally, it's because I do have shadows on, but I only have it on a minimal setting. The next thing is you can enable post effects. Enabling windowed gamma is going to, if you have multiple monitors, anything like that, it's going to wash out the colors on multiple monitors. So I do just increase windowed gamma. So that's the difference. You may not even see much on screen or anything like that, but I highly recommend trying this setting out because EverQuest can sometimes be very dark, and this helps bring out the contrast, I feel like. Then if you're having performance issues, anything like this, you want to take a look at these settings, setting it to low or minimum for texture qualities. It's going to have a huge impact, but it'll help. Also want least memory usage, obviously. I'm running on a very, very good computer. Turning off advanced lighting and so forth is going to help. Obviously disabling shadows altogether. And if you want to turn on like the shaders, you're not going to get like such kind of grandiose textures and so forth, but that will help with your graphics issues if you're running into frame rate problems. Also, like I said, clipping plane down. You can also make your frame rate a minimum setting. I don't know if it's going to help very much if you're already having frame rate problems or not, but this is also very important. The background frame rates per second is super important if you are deciding to run multiple characters. If you notice when you're auto following, your character constantly stops or anything like that, it's because actually they're having problems with frame rate on the background. You want to increase this to unlimited, and then you'll notice a really smooth auto follow. So with the graphics settings out of the way, the next is keybinds. Generally, you're going to want to bind your sit and stand. That's going to be important for most casters, as well as other classes like monks, anything like that. So sit and stand is default to Control S. I personally use WASD to move around. Okay. As well as mouse look. If you hold down your right mouse button, it'll allow mouse look, and that's where you can strafe. And this is generally how I will operate my character, is using mouse look and running around. Anyway, going back, sitting and standing. Since I use WASD, I generally will change this to E. So that I can sit and stand with ease while I'm controlling my character, because I prefer monk as my main class. So you're constantly feign deathing, right? So when you feign death, the way to get up is to stand up. So you want to hit that E button. So that makes it a quick action if you're playing a necro, anything with feign death. So SK, monk, so forth. So that's generally one of the things that I'd recommend. Another one is I believe that auto run's usually set to number lock. Not a big fan of that. Let's see if it's it doesn't even have it set. That's great. I generally set it to something over here on the side of my keyboard, the slash right above the enter key. It's out of the way. You won't use it too often, particularly that slash, and it frees up the number lock, which used to be the default. Maybe they've undone that, but back in the day, it was definitely number lock. So those are some general settings. Another one that I do for melee classes, I'd highly recommend. So Everquest has a kind of a unique feature in MMOs where you can actually bind multiple keys to the same multiple actions or buttons to the same key press. It'll turn red, indicating that it is the same, but it's not going to stop you from doing it. So it's actually really helpful in EverQuest, because you'll have a whole bar by the time you're a certain level that is just things you want to spam, because they have a low cooldown. They're instant. This is particularly for melee type classes, but there might even be some specific ways that you could incorporate this for a magic class. I don't know what that is, but so for instance, if you're playing a melee class, you're going to have a bunch of different cooldown timers. You see all of these, you categorize them by timer. And generally you want to pick the highest level of the particular timer. So these all share the same timer if they're timer 0. So Master Aura is one that is just a buff. It'll give you a description at the bottom, tells you reuse, duration. Since it's 0 is because it lasts forever, quote unquote forever. But let's get into more. So like this timer 8 here. I want to find the highest level for this particular set, which it looks like it's Whirl of Fists, because I haven't, even though I'm 88, I haven't gone to get new spells. So it's still using the heroic stuff. So I'll put that there, along with Flying Kick because I'm a monk, and also Tiger Claw because they're actually off of different timers now. So you'll have those type things. Lynch. honestly, at this level, it doesn't look like I have a whole bunch. As you gain more levels, they incorporated more abilities going in. I think should have like stunning kick and so forth. Yep. So we'll put that on the bar and so forth. But anyway, mashing the buttons will allow you to keep using just those. All of them at once. They'll keep going off whenever you're... Hey, Jontos, what's up, man? How's it going? Just doing a recording for good old YouTubes on Everquest here. So that's something to keep in mind. Another decent thing is if you want, I like to having a number pad too. So I use my number pads usually for my like second bar. I'll use the put them in descending order, and I'll show you why. So I usually will bring this over, make it look like my number pad. Now the spinner here, these are different pages. I turn that off. So you can do that by going in here to unchecking the spinner. Then it's not gonna make, like, you can't accidentally change the buttons there. So I like feign death to be down here, and I use the F key for that. We don't need the mastery rank. So we're just gonna put it here for now. These toggle buttons you can change. I use all my hot bars to control. Where is it? There we go. Control Alt and then the number of the button, and so that way you can choose when to bring them out. So in this case, I want to bring out a new one. So this is it right here, which I'm toggling on and off with Control 3, and so that's going to be a buff bar that I want to put up there. So then we have a buff bar going up, and stuff that I don't need to use too often, but they're there, right? And so this is, you can put abilities here that you are going to use on the fly that aren't in your spam. Again, the spinner, you can take that away. So it's just the normal buttons there. And so in order to map these keys on my second bar, which I believe is that one. Yep, there we go. So on the second bar there, the number 1 key, all right, is going to be the top one here. It looks like I don't have number lock on. There we go. Number pad 7. So you see that at the top? That's my number pad. So even though it says button 1, it's not. I'm not going to put 1 there. I'm putting number pad 1. So I'm doing that with these as well. So just go down the list. No, and there. And then 0 is that. So the other thing I do is also I make my feign death, particularly for monks, as F. So that's right next to my D when I'm ASDing, and I can feign death. I can quickly stand up with E. It's very useful, very useful. So now you see that these are red, right? You're like, okay, so they're sharing something. So I look through them. Usually it's going to be camera settings for those particular ones. So you see here, it's like zoom out. Well, I don't want that. I don't care about that. To unblank something, to blank out something, you just hit escape when you're selecting on it. So I don't want look down. There's already page down for that. I don't want center view. I don't want zoom in, and I don't want to look up. These all have other keys already bound to them, so I don't need the number pad for those particular ones. You also see tab. It'll cycle through reply and target yourself and the target. I don't like that. I actually like to tab target nearest NPC, so that's going to be in your target window here. You can cycle through nearest PCs, NPC. I like that to be my tab. So, and there you have it. That's the general basics for that. The next one is showing different things. It hides bad words. That's your language filter. Since we're on stream, I'm not going to turn that off, but if you did want to not have profanities zeroed out, you would just choose show on bad words. Otherwise, everything else is stuff that you can filter out if you wanted to not see them anymore, you can choose hide. So say you don't want to see other hits or other people's misses. You can just choose to hide those, and therefore they wouldn't come up in your combat spam. It's very important because especially if you're a melee, anything like that, you'll notice that Everquest does have a lot of data pouring out of it. So with the chat, you can also change the text color that it appears in chat. So one of the most predominant ones that I change is the tell color when people send me a tell. So that's going to be in the tell here. It comes up as purple color. I don't like that. I like having it yellow, a bright yellow for when they do send me a tell. I can see that a lot more clearly, because as you'll see, purple shows up a lot for like links and so forth like that. These are all things that you can click on and then see what item it is in the chat. It's a very universal thing for MMOs these days, I think, but that's also a thing. So coming into it, I now set up a particular color I like. Another thing I usually like to do also is I change my hits and so you look for my hits, or maybe it's just, let's see, there's other hits you. Generally change that to orange myself. Kind of a yeah, it's all right, orange rather than red, just so it separates other, because there's a lot of red stuff that'll happen. And then I thought there was like a my hits, but you hit other. There we go. So I changed this to a really bright green for it registering my hits. The next thing you want to do with chat is you will notice that you can right click on chat and you'll see filters. The beginning default thing is a terrible experience because you're gonna have all of your melee, all of your chat, all spells coming in, like damage shields, everything's going to be filtered to this main window. I don't like that personally. So you'll have this other chat over here. That generally is going to be other spells, also people casting spells and whatnot. I'm going to throw also all the melee. You can do all, just throw them all in there, because I just want social interaction to be in this main chat. I don't want all of this like damage shield and elemental damage. That's if you're in like lava, stuff like that. I don't want that filtering into my actual chat channel, anything like that. So I'm going to do all of these, can't use, warning, even mercenary messages and so forth, because that'll spam up your channel. System messages are fine, event messages, chat channels, so forth, all that's okay being in the other one. Let's see here, can't use I thought there was also a new experience. Okay, that looks good. That's good. All right, so that'll clean it up a little bit. You can also make these windows bigger if you so desired. You can move all these around once you see that icon. So this is going to be my target window. I like that having a little bit bigger, so you see when you target somebody. I also like to bring down my own hitbox down next to it, so that I'm only looking at one place when I'm looking at what I'm doing versus what the enemy is doing. This box is going to be the buffs that enemy has, or debuffs. And then you're going to have your group window over here. This is the extended target window. With more AAs, this will become even bigger and bigger and bigger, because your heroic characters will have auto grants. You're already going to have all of them, if not most. So this is actually can be expanded. This is your group again, so you can have it over here. Yeah. So there you go. The next thing I always change is my spell effects. So there's songs and spell effects. Instead of it being the small bar, I bring it over here and bring it up, so they all will align up at the top of my screen like that. You could also do it down here. That's fine too. I do that for my songs though. So my songs, I like to keep in one line all the way down. This button isn't super important. You can just drag it down here and so forth. Anyway, the song bar is going to be your short duration buffs, like that only last for 10, 15 seconds, so forth. And your long duration is going to be up here. So that is that. The next thing you also want to do, I don't know if they already do this for you. So V brings up your alternate advancement. This is incredibly important now that you have a heroic tune. You're going to have a lot of AAs starting out already. These are points that advance your character more than, say, levels do. They're going to be really specific to what they're doing per point based. And you can earn these by toggling them from 0 to 100 or whatever percent. And that's how much XP you gain versus how many AA XP you gain. So you'll see the bars here. You'll have normal experience and then you have alternate advancement experience. 2 different bars. Levels can just keep going levels, but you'll cap out. Whereas AA points, you can cap out how much you bank, but you won't cap out on how much you can spend for a very, very long time. So another thing you can do is what you already have. You can turn off can purchase. Or toggle it to only see what you can purchase. And then you can also look at, say, what actives you have. These are abilities that you have to choose to activate. I'll put whistle over here too. Forgot about that one. That's a buff that you can do on yourself. Anyway, some of these aren't combat specific. They're maybe buffs. Like this one will has a 10-minute refresh timer, but it lasts for like a minute or so. And it's a buff that occurs. So I'm going to put that, like up here. And so forth. So when I click on this, right, you'll notice this goes in a short duration because it only lasts a minute, but it also gives me that, and you can hold right click on it to see the same kind of information of what it does. Increases the damage of my melee attacks and the maximum damage of my melee attacks. So it adds a 75 damage on top of them and also making them 75% more damage. It's an interesting ability. It's really good. So there you have that kind of information there. If you happen to play on Front of Vi, another thing that you'll see is people speak different languages because it's a role-playing server. When you first start out, your character might not know the language of the server, which is Elvish. So you will need to learn that. You can learn that using a mercenary. It's not a problem. I think you even might start out with mercenaries. That's another thing that I like to change. I don't think that mercenary starts out as a key. So in UI, you go down to mercenary window toggle. That's what you want. And I do Control-M, Control-M, Control-M. I don't know what's going on there. Control-M. Okay, I don't know why it's not like it. Maybe I was pushing the Windows key. No, I don't know what's going on there. This is a weird, very, very weird. As you saw, I was able to do it with the number keys just fine. I might have to submit a bug report about that. I'll do Control-Shift-M for now. So that's going to be your mercenary window. We're going to suspend our mercenary. Generally, you'll start off with a specific one. I imagine it's always going to be either healer or a tank. If you're already a healer, maybe they give you a tank class, but you can always switch that up. It's no problem. You just dismiss that the current mercenary, and then you go talk to wherever the newest mercenary person is, and grab that. This is the area we'll start out in. So now we've kind of looked over, this is the window selector also. If you don't already know the hotkeys for certain things like inventory's I, like your character sheet and so forth, so where that's going to be. This will also allow you to do that. Has your hotbar, your general hotbar, friends list, options. That's Alt O. I keep pushing when I open that. But this will be kind of a good reminder because you can hover over until you're ready to not have it anymore. So yeah, so it's good stuff. Next thing you want is your map. You'll notice my map is empty. Well, that is because you start off with no maps, but you can download them. So I would head over to, actually my guild's website happens to host a popular map pack. So that's the easiest place for me, but you can do a simple Google search also for EverQuest map packs and just find a decent one. But I go to knightsofinfinity.org and we have a map pack there. So why don't I turn on the window capture? I think that's it. Yeah. I think so. Let's see if that. No, it must be display capture, probably. There we go. Yeah, display capture. Okay. So this is now my desk. You can see my desktop. Whee! So anyway, so I go to knightsofinfinity.org, scroll down to the bottom here, and we have a bunch of utilities. One of them should be our map packs. There we go. So this is all maps up to Empire's Kunark. Our guild leader is really great about updating it. I bet if the new expansion comes out, it'll have even those. He creates the zip, and so I just save that. You know, I open it up in my folders here, and then I'm gonna extract this to my actually EverQuest is gonna be in users, public, Daybreak, installed games, EverQuest, maps, right? So that's going to be your general directory is users, public, Daybreak, installed games, EverQuest, maps. So you'll extract them there. Say yes to any that are already there, because generally the player maps are better than the developer maps, if they do have a map for specifically. Usually it's the classic zones that they actually do still have maps for. So then we're done with that. You usually do have to zone or log out, log back in for them to be in game, but I'll show you as soon as I zone in and out. They should be fine. I'm gonna kill the display mode now, because I took out the borders. I'm playing in the windowed mode. So now I'll have a map. So this is a map of player knowledge, but I'm gonna go back to Ferrot, so you can see that the Ferrot map is there now too. I didn't update my stream info. That's funny. Apparently I was streaming Breath of the Wild, but really EverQuest. So anyway, now that we have the maps, so now you can see here's a map. They're really handy. You know, seeing where you are, you can always push this button here to center back on you if you like are way far away. And then you zoom in with like your mouse. Height filter is really important if you're in a dungeon that has lots of layers. Generally I'll do like a 40/40 height filter, and then that'll it'll cut out any map that's above you or below you by that degree of feet. So it's really important in dungeons, because the map will show every layer right on top, like in isometric view. You don't want that. So you only want to see what floor you're on. You know what I mean? So that being said, so now we got a pretty good grasp on the interface and so forth. Obviously each player class, race, and so forth is going to be a whole lot different. So you know, that's sort of stuff that you're going to have to learn on your own about whatever race or class you picked. Again, a really good rule of thumb is checking out these timers, and then just looking for the highest level one, or just going through them in general, reading their description. Generally you'll see which ones you want to use currently. So this moment of pacify, it says, you know, by remaining still, reflecting your peace, you gain a portion of endurance. So that's the same as Moment of Tranquility, Moment of Calm. They're just you'll notice in EverQuest they tend to have the same name in a line of spells. EverQuest does a five level difference in spells because of the expansions as they released. So I have like Defer Death or Delay Death and then Defer Death, like five and then 5, right? Like because it was at 80 they added this ability, and then at 85 they added a new upgrade to that. I bet at 90 I'll receive a new one. It'll say something like like something death, right? And then you'll notice the same thing with the winds. Like they added second wind, but then 5 levels later is third wind, 5 levels later is fourth wind, and so forth, so on. I have like 8th wind now on my 105 monk, because it just keeps going up like that. Same thing with like this phantom line. It's just examples. Like every kind of 5 levels they put in a new phantom thing for different reasons. Echoes is going to be the same kind of thing. Echo, and so forth. So anyway, that's a way to get it adapted. Just look at just the timer and what's in that space and what would be the best to use. You can also use the website Alakazam for a more detailed description of like really explicitly what the spell does, like what percentages and so forth. Because this will say like increase your damage for 10 seconds, but you don't know how much it increases. On Alakazam, it'll definitely tell you how much it increases. So that's a really good thing to check when you're learning your class. So the next thing I would go over is, okay, now we've talked about the interface. You're comfortable. You have it set up. Now it's time to play, right? So we have our mercenary out. Now what do you do? The first general thing that I would recommend, especially if you're on like Front of Eye or any of the current servers, is check out what's in the bazaar that you can afford. You're gonna start out with not a million credits. You start off with like 16,000, something like that. Again, just because I was playing this tune, I was power leveling him, and then I put a bunch of stuff because I was buying a bunch of stuff. Essentially, telling you exactly, practicing what I preached in that. The first thing I do is I check out the bazaar and see what's in the bazaar for my class and the level range I am. So if you're starting out, you'll be 85, so you just want to choose 85. Generally, I'll kill the min level to about 80-ish or so. I'll keep it around a 5 level rank. And then you select your class, right? So I'm a monk on this particular tune. And then stat, I'd always suggest looking at just hit points or mana if you're a caster. Over the years, EverQuest started being really good about the power rankings of a particular item is going to be really dependent on their HP and their AC. So just looking primarily at the HP, you can generally tell what kind of power level the particular item is. So this is only going to let you see what you could use on your monk, and this is going to let us sort by HP, and then say you want to look at arms, right? You always, I don't know why they have this like this, but you're always going to need to bring this down so you can hit that find button because it's hidden in there. Don't know why that's not default, but hey. So you hit this hit points and it sorts it. And then I can see, okay, there's this, very decent looking item. You can compare it to the arms you currently start off with, which just says a power source in it. So we're just going to take off the power source real quick and reopen this. Don't be deceived by the blue text. That's your power source. You want to see what the actual item is. So the arms that you start off with, the heroic arms, looks like it's about 50% lower in HP than these arms that are for sale now. But the arms for sale are 100,000, so that's not going to be something we can afford. Wherein this 88,500, it's a little bit better. So that might be something that we can afford. These Trill Link arms. Definitely a bit better also. You know, got 100, 10 more AC, so forth. So these are going to be more in our price range. 25,000. May not be able to start off right away with that. Particularly if you're a melee, you may not even want to look at your equipment. Arms are really important because of the cleave focus. So you'll notice on every arm it has cleave on it. That's super important. These focuses, depending if you're melee or if you're a caster or if you're a healer, the focus is a really big component of EverQuest these days, especially if you're a returning player. You'll want to know about the focuses. So for melee, it's pretty easy. It's just cleave and ferocity. That's going to be on your arms and your legs. So you'll notice when you look at legs, they all have this ferocity stat. Bring that over. Ferocity here, and you're going to find that on all legs from a certain level. I think it's like level 70 and onward. But since we're looking at heroic characters for this, that's going to be obvious. However, if you're a caster, say, you're like a shaman or something, then it's going to be a little bit different. Assuming that they're shaman-like stuff. Looks like it's against the clock is the effect. Which is reduces cast time of detrimental spells. So these are helping cast stuff, right? Even though it's the same legs that we were just looking at. They fervor of battlefield again reduces the cast time. So they mirror each other. Just they're different because this one's for level 90 and over spells. This is level 95 and over spells. So this one's gonna actually last you longer. The next one's for bards. That's their wind. So this is clearly better. So in general, like I said, the HP is really a decent defining point. If you're looking at the power of the gear, generally something that's going to have more HP is going to have more power than when you compare the two. So pretty important there. But yeah, just looking over different stuff, you're gonna see that theme throughout. So like even this 1,200, it's less than the 1,400, but it is better than the 1,000 where it has 2,000. Anyway, I think I'm going over it a little too much there. For melees, like I said, probably the first thing you may want to look at is your weapon if you're a damage dealing class and so forth. So going back to monk searching, monks can use one-handed blunt, they can use two-handed blunt, and they can use martial weapons, or hand-to-hand as the game calls it, as you'll see. I think these are probably no trait. Why am I blanking out here? Oh, one-hand blunt. But martial weapons are hand-to-hand weapons, which monks can use. I have it set to legs. Up here, you gotta make sure that they're really specific when you select these things. So now you come to this type of, and so we have scaled fists here. Okay, it's 6119. It's only 700 plat, right? Heroic tune starts off with 16,000, wherein if we look at the weapons you obtain, you can tell that these are even a little bit better, and they're completely affordable on your budget. This Kiss of a Serpent going to be even better. As you can see, it's a whole 8 damage more with the same delay. Better hit points. You'll see better strength, and so forth. Vampiric Strike is technically usually, even though this says it does 280 damage, this is a life tap, so sometimes it's better to have life tap. Anyway, but even up to, I think these are even better. You can have them 85, although you might not be able to afford 55,000 at the moment. But you maybe even be able to afford 20,000 pretty soon if you fight just a little bit of time. And for whatever reason, this is even better, but some reason this guy is selling it for a little higher. But you may get luck out on that kind of stuff, because this is definitely better than you know, this. So it's that's something to consider. I usually go straight to the bazaar and see what's available. Maybe nothing's for sale, particularly if you're on a server that has a lower population. Front of Eye has a really decent population, and there's people making heroic tunes all the time. You know, good times. Now we won't be able to communicate because I'm on Front of Eye and I haven't learned Elvish. But anyway, the next thing you want to do is, you don't have a lot of money, right? But if you happen to be a returning player, you may have loyalty points you want to check out. You know, maybe you have money also, like from an old character or something like that. But one of the really decent things to check out is if you have loyalty points, and if you can get more platinum from them, just to help you out when you're starting off, because maybe you can get 1, 2, 3 different items from the bazaar. Hey, welcome, man. I'm just going over right now. I've been running through setting up a heroic tune and so forth. This will also be going up on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, the Nerd Navigator and so forth, that I've done quite a few Everquest videos on. So on my particular account, you may not have as many loyalty points. You gain loyalty points just through over time, and I think at a higher rate if you happen to have a subscription. You don't need a subscription; it's not required, but it definitely helps for a number of things. This included. Anyway, what I'm suggesting is buying Bag of Platinum for newer players. This is going to help you kind of get you into being able to purchase some of the group kind of gear that people might be having for sale. So with your loyalty points, which just gain over time, you can get a Bag of Platinum. Okay, it's going to be, are you sure you want to buy a Bag of Platinum? I'm like, yeah. And then so when you go to the Bag of Platinum, right, you open it up, and it gives you, let me bring this out because I'm hiding it with my big old fat face. It gives you around 15 to 16,000. Let me move myself over here, which is great. You know, especially when you're starting out, that's a decent amount of change. How do I learn Elvish? You can learn Elvish by grouping with other people. I can show you real quick. We're just going to head over to Crescent Reach, because our friend here in chat is most likely going to be in Crescent Reach, and we'll just show him how you, because this will be good for the video too, especially on Front of Eye, like learning languages and so forth. You have to learn them by being in a group. Now you can be in a group with a mercenary, and it's the same effect as being with a player. So if you do have a mercenary, you can just bring out your mercenary and do the same thing. Essentially, you just have to have that language at one point, which you can get from your guild master, and then just keep talking in group chat with that language, and you'll eventually learn it. You'll learn more, even if you yourself don't know the language. So if we go to our friend that's in Crescent Reach here, maybe he's not brand new, and I'm making an assumption, but if he's brand new, he's probably in Crescent Reach, just starting out. I don't know if it's any of these folks here. Are you in Crescent Reach, or Meg? I should have checked that before I went to Crescent Reach, but we can use this as an example anyway. So let's bring up our skill list. Oh, no, it's an I. It's over here. Duh. So we look at our skills, okay, and you'll see my Elvish is still below. So this must be our friend from Twitch chat here. So my Elvish is still below,
you want it to be 100 is what you want it to be. So generally I'll make a social, okay, and just call it language, right? Something like that. I misspelled it. And then you just type /G and then hi, how are you? Let's learn some Elvish, right? And you slap that on your spam bar because it doesn't matter. And so since we're in a group now, we also had our mercenary, but if you just spam that now, let me put that on the 1 key here. All right, I'll just put it over here. I do wrong. I'm talking in human tongue. Oh, I know what I'm doing. It's down here. But I'm talking in, so you also have to change your language right here to Elvish, okay? And then when I spam it, it'll be in Elvish. And as you saw, I just already learned Elvish, like 1, 3, 55, and so forth. Oh, you're not seeing that on the stream there. But also on the other side, our friend that doesn't know Elvish is now learning Elvish, and now they can speak in Elvish. And if they talk, we'll learn even faster because it's going by faster. But see, it's easy to learn the language. It's really not a huge barrier. It goes up fairly quickly. His might be going a little bit slower because I have high intelligence and wisdom thanks to being an 85 tune, whereas he's probably a lower level. So his will be a little bit slower progression, but he should be starting to learn it now. He can learn it on his own even by doing the same thing. Is this vanilla WoW? No. Retro Sensei, you're silly, buddy. Guys, Retro Sensei is in chat, man. He's a good guy. Check out his YouTube. Well, he's going to start YouTube sometime eventually, I think, too. He's got a link to that. But check him out on Twitch at Retro Sensei TV. Good guy, good friend of the channel. It's true. He doesn't have the legendary Rosetta Stone legendary yet. There's 2 legendaries in the. It's because it's a big deal. My Merc tank does not hold aggro in combat. Am I doing something wrong? Make sure that your Merc tank is set to aggressive, and that you in the actions group window here. So I'm gonna do it on stream, and then I'm gonna change our leadership so you can do it. Okay. So you want to select your group Merc by right-clicking on him. Let's see here. Oh, you are the group leader. Never mind, I can't do this. But if you do it, if you right-click on your Merc, you can change his role. And you want to set his role to main tank. The role that the mercenary has will tell it kind of what you want it to do in the group. So in the case of your Merc, you want to set him to main tank, and then he knows that he should be taunting and so forth. The mercenaries actually are kind of semi-intelligent in how they were coded, because if you didn't want him to tank, say you were a war, there you go. So you see in chat here, he switched his Merc to main tank, and also make sure he's set to aggressive in the Merc window. It's not the same as mine because mine's a healer, so there's different stances, but you want to be an aggressive stance. Now your Merc is going to actually try to hold aggro as best he can. Starting out is not going to be easy for him at the lower levels, but as you gain levels, he's going to get access to more and more gear. So it's going to be a lot better for him. And I agree, Retro Sensei. It is nice to have a revival of EverQuest. It's a great thing. I think they've done pretty good this year with the 18th anniversary. I saw a lot of new people. Nerd Navigator started making content for them. Got a lot of. I'm just kidding. But yeah. So that's so now. Norgy or Ermeg in Twitch, if you set up your own spam bar by going to your actions window, if you have that turned off, I think it's let's see here. Yeah, it's just hit Control A, right? It'll bring up this window down here, and then go to the socials page, flip it to a blank section, right click on it, put in what you want to say /G, and then accept it, drag it to a bar. Now you can spam it yourself and learn the skill on your own with your mercenary in your group. You'll be learning Elvish on your own. And after about 10 minutes or so of doing that, you should max out your skill. Thanks for helping me out with the video, buddy. Appreciate it. I'm gonna leave you be with that and head back on over to Plane of Knowledge here. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask in Twitch, man. I'll answer them. That way, maybe they'll be in the video. Maybe somebody else had the same kind of question that is watching it on YouTube when I upload it. So it might help some other people. Yeah, we'll see, Retro, when Pantheon comes out. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm trying not to hype myself out, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've been burned so many times by independent studios. Brad McQuaid himself, man. I had such high hopes for Vanguard, Saga of Heroes. When it came out, I still had high hopes, but it quickly like just didn't feel good. You know what I mean? Like I played it for a month and then I kind of got bored. They didn't have content right at the beginning. They're adding dungeons like month over month because they hadn't actually built that out at the time of release. It's just like they just didn't have the content there. I remember the day they added the level 40 dungeon, like, and I was like, finally, like, awesome. Anyway, like, I just remember that stuff trickling in. And so I hope well for Pantheon, but I don't have like the strongest of feelings until I play it and it's good. I'm definitely not putting $100 down or whatever they're asking right now to be able to play it, especially not in whatever state it's in now. So when we were looking at the Bazaar stuff, I'm going back to the gear stuff that we were looking at. So in Bazaar, you can either parcel something. If you're starting out, I recommend not doing that because it's going to cost 10% of the item's value to get it shipped to you. So obviously you want to save those you want to keep those savings. So I'm just going to do a quick find again. Look for something super cheap that isn't really, I don't care about. So elegant, whatever. So if I buy this, I have the option to, because I'm choosing to do it from this screen, I can have it parceled to me. And so it's like it buys it, it sends it to this parcel guy, and boom, now I can retrieve it from the parcels. If you don't know where this guy is in Plane of Knowledge or any zone, you can hit Control F. That's going to bring up the find window. And then you can either look by what they're called or what their name is in game. So in this case, I was looking for like a parcel person, right? And I picked the one that's not next to me. So it creates this little line here. That's, it's not super easy to see, but you can still see it. And it's going to bring me to the other bank's parcel guy that you can just follow the line, and it'll put you right to there. Do spells like inner fire scale with level, or do I have to learn new spells to replace it, like light healing replace my healing? Yeah, you'll for spells in particular, as you level, there'll be upgrades to that spell line. So inner fire, I think is that the strength buff for like shamans. That's definitely going to have higher level spells and so forth. That's the banker. Parcel guy's right here. And when you look at them, do you see that blinding light? That tells you, hey, it's this one. And so anyway, that's how you can find other NPCs. Very important for navigating around EverQuest. So, well, okay, Telkiney, you just said not to use the parcel guide because I'm a new player. What should I do? What you should do is go to the bazaar. Since you've learned how to do a map by the time in this video, I know those guys coming on Twitch, you weren't maybe in the chat when I was going over that, but you should watch the video. I'll have it on my YouTube channel, probably tonight. Anyway, look at the bazaar and play of knowledge. You can also do it from your map. Even if you don't have maps, you can go to zone guide. Okay, in the zone guide you can search for particular zones. If you even know the exact name of them, you can put them in here. So I want to go to you can't put them in. You have to actually search for them. Okay, bazaar. I want the bazaar, so I search for bazaar. There's the bazaar. I'll set that as my end zone. Okay, and then I can activate the path, and then it's going to tell me the zone path here, like where I am, what my next transfer is, and it even puts that little line here. So then it shows me that the bazaar is right here, as if we didn't already see it on our map right there, right? It'll also put an X on the map even if you don't have the actual maps saved. But yeah, Pantheon, I mean, they have monks, so they're doing something right? But it's definitely EQ-esque. I mean, you look at their class list and it's almost exactly all the classic EverQuest classes. I think they're missing a few, or they renamed a few, but some of them, they're just perfectly the same name. But I think they have Illusionist instead of like Enchanter, and they have like Dread Knight instead of Shadow Knight, but then they have like Warrior, Cleric, and all that kind of stuff. So very interesting, very interesting. I think they're missing just a few classes at the moment that aren't in EverQuest. Like I think, is it Bard? I forget what it is. There's like 2 of them that were in classic EverQuest, and maybe they'll add them later on. Yeah, for sure. I think they're still there. I watched some videos, like the devs did a live stream with some YouTuber or / Twitch guy, COH Anger or something. I forget what his name is. But anyway, those were some interesting streams because they were actually playing, being a group and so forth. So in Bazaar, we're now in the Bazaar. If you watched me come up to this level, this is the level you want to be at. Now we can do /Bazaar and we can look for things, and we can actually click on the trader's name and right click on it, and it's going to give us a path to where the trader is in the Bazaar. What this is doing, why we came here instead of shipping it to us, is it's going to save us that 10% delivery fee. You can always keep clicking on the guy, and it's going to point your character right to where that person is, in case you lost kind of track of the trail or anything like that. And so bam, this is the guy. He has these knuckles for just so guys, I don't know if we were oh, it's because it's 105. That's right. But anyway, he's got these knuckles here. He's selling them. They're a craft type, so they look really bad, but they're because they're for crafting. Anyway, that's how you can. And now I can back straight, no markup or anything like that. So now that we've looked at how to get gear, we've looked at what kind of setup you should do. You can change the interface however you want. You can move anything around, like I said. So that maybe you have a certain personal preference. Another thing you can do is if you don't like how the UI looks, there is a website called EQ UI that you can actually download custom UIs. And then once you have it downloaded in the right folder, they'll tell you how to install them. Then you can go load UI and they'll show up in here, and you just load that UI. You can keep your layout, or you can undo it and copy whatever their layout is, so forth. So EverQuest actually does allow for custom UIs, which is cool. I think it's It's a decent change. I'm going the wrong way here. So yeah, so that's a good thing too, especially if you don't particularly like their UI. A lot of people have problems with it. There are custom UIs out there. There's even like, say, a World of Warcraft version of the Everquest UI, like that somebody is just given a World of Warcraft skin, which is kind of neat. I mean, you know, if maybe if you came over from World of Warcraft wanting to try out the classic old Everquest, something like that. So so now we've looked at, you know, gear. So you've gotten yourself geared up however much you could with whatever resources you had available to you. You have your stuff set up. Now what do you do? What's going on? What should you do? The zone you actually started out in is not a bad zone to try to group up with other people and hang out. Now I'm going to show you, okay, I had all this gear, but I bought other gear, right? So we're going to equip these other pieces here because my resource is a little bit better than, you know, the average players, but you can delete this stuff, by the way. Now that you these aren't sellable even on Front of Eye. They're no drop, which is the no drop server, or the no drop server. So you don't need to keep this stuff. You can just delete it. There's even a way to make it so it doesn't ask you every time you want to delete something. You can do fast item destroy. I think these are the good ones. Yeah, these are the good ones. I don't know what's going on there. Let's see here. Monk. Ooh, does it Froglock? So monk and Froglock. I happen to be 88. That's why I bought these. So I meet the required level. I bet it's a tunable. Maybe that's why. No, it's not tunable. It's lore. Oh, because it's fingers and I'm an idiot. I thought I had all my there we go. Had my earrings in the same spot. Didn't. So what's this guy? Oh, this is heroic version. Okay. There we go. So is this new plates? Yeah, the new boots. So we get everything situated there. Put our power source back on. This stuff is stuff I want to show you. If the other alternative also, Everquest has an interesting gear system in some of the later expansions, including the one we start out with, in that there's also items that drop from enemies that can be turned into weapon or armor. So there's these things called, let's see, I think they're Thule. I'm just gonna put in the word Thule. No, I don't know what they are for House of Thule. You can look it up on. Let's look it up on Alakazam. I mean, guess we'll take the time. So Thule. So in the House of Thule, the lower floors. So let me show my display here. So in Alakazam, if you go to any of like the House of Thule zones or anything like that, it's going to have guides at the top of any of the zones, anything like that. And we want to look at like group progression armor. Did you see that armor there? So visible armor, it'll give us the overview of that. And this is the type of armor. So tier 1 group, they're called obtuse. So these items, players will sell for dirt cheap prices. right? 8K. That's going to be super cheap for you starting out. They're for a specific slot, so this will be a chest piece. And you turn them in as you look at this. They're used in a recipe for making a class specific armor. So since I am a monk, I think maybe it'll be soulbound. I'm not sure what the name. No, it's Paladin. Doesn't matter. So to make this chest piece, this Paladin chest piece, which you'll see is 1,000 HP, so it's better than the heroic stuff that we started with. You buy one of those from the bazaar. You take this thing that's bought, and you can see where they're bought from, which is going to be probably in the Ferrat, the Dream, if it'll ever load. And then a template. Okay, the templates are crafted by players, so usually they'll be sold. If not, kind of not much you can do about it. I think they might sell them in Ferrat too, but they'll be a little bit more expensive than So no one's selling the template here, unfortunately. But it's generally because unfortunately it's an older expansion. But man, what is taking so long to load? Anyway, guys, that's how you'll look for them. You can then turn them in for that kind of stuff. I bought a bunch for the next kind of rank up for my character. So to get there, you can either find the way to get there via the zone guide, or get yourself into a guild and go to the guild hall and use a teleportation. So the particular armor that I am going to be upgrading to is one expansion past House of Thule, the Veil of Alaris, and that's the gear that I'm gonna get myself into. So we're gonna go to the guild hall and show you how to teleport from the guild hall, so forth. That's why guilds are super important. Not just because you get the bread and butter, like having people to group with and so forth. And my guild's pretty decent sized. These are people online. If I look at off, we have too many alts. You know what I mean? But let's hide alts, and even then we have me. We have a person I could group with, like 93 here, another 94 monk. We could try to consolidate, get ourselves in a group with all our mercs and so forth. So it's I definitely check out Knights of Infinity if you're on Front of Vi. They will welcome anyone of any level, of any skill range. We do raid also. Once you get to a power that can raid, they also do older raids for fun. So even if you're not max level or anything like that, you can join in some of those raids. So this is the guild portal guy. You'll find him over here, and he sells different location items. Generally the name of the zone is going to be somewhere in the item, but they're a little tricky, I'm not gonna lie. So this is Crystallized Dream of the Ferrat. That's going to be the zone we started in on a heroic tune. This is going to be the next zone up in the expansions. You'll notice they go up in price, and this is going to be taking me to the zone in Veil of Alaris that I want to go to. So I buy the item, but then I have to give it back to him, and that sets our teleporter. As you see here, the guild, you can't see it because I'm over it. The guild hall portal has been aligned to Agloroth, or whatever the freaking name is. So we go over to our little pool here, right next to him, and eventually we'll get a little message here that will let us teleport to that zone. How does stats work on items? What is base damage and delay on a weapon? Okay, so stats, if you hover over them, they should tell you pretty much exactly what the stat will do for you. So in the case of strength, it increases your melee damage, right? So if you come over to strength, it's really touchy, it looks like, but come on now. All right. I can't move my mouse. I keep moving my mouse. Oh, this is annoying. All right, there we go. So stamina influences your hit points and your endurance points. That's all it does. It gives you more stamina, more HP you get. So, for example, our friend in chat that was asking is a shaman. So, looking over wisdom, right? It'll determine your mana for some classes, and shaman's going to be one of those some classes. It also influences your chance to raise skills. That's why I was saying earlier when we were learning the languages, I was going to be learning them a bit faster than our shaman friend, because my wisdom is definitely going to be higher at level 85 or 88 than his at level 1 through 10 or whatever the level range was there. So the intelligence acts the same sort of way, but for some other classes. So you have wisdom casters, which are priests, and then you have intelligence casters, which are your traditional mages. So wisdom is for shaman, druid, and cleric, and also whatever classes are hybrids of those classes. So paladin, for example, is a wisdom hybrid, and beast lords are a wisdom hybrid because they're a shaman hybrid. And intelligence is the same way, but for intelligence casters, so that's going to be your mage, necro, wizard, enchanter, and then the hybrids of those, which is shadow knight and ranger. No, just shadow knight. Sorry, ranger is a wisdom based off of the druid. Sorry. So that's kind of what the stats do. Strength increases your melee. Dex increases, like, I don't know, your dodge or something. Influences successful attack, damage done, and chance to raise. Okay. Agility would be the dodge. Sorry. Influences your AC and avoidance damage and so forth. Now base damage and delay. That's just your generalized. You can tell that this is going to do more damage than this because it's higher damage, and then you look at the delay. The delay is tenths of a second. So 20 delay is 20 seconds, or 2 seconds, because it's 20 tenths of a second. So an 18 delay is 1.8 seconds. 30 delay is 3 seconds. So that's the intervals between the attacks. So you can divide them by, I'm still on window mode. Okay, cool. So you can go to calculator, right? And you can, let's look again at, well, we'll just take this knuckle duster here because it's going to be terrible. So the ratio is you're going to be doing 22 damage, right? So you divide 1.9 seconds. And so you should be doing a DPS of 11.5, right? Yeah, something like that. Whereas if you have a 75 base damage, you divide that by 2.0, because that's you do this amount every 2 seconds. Then you have a base damage, a DPS of 37.5. So clearly it's better than 11.5, right? So that's how you can kind of tell the difference, even when they're even way closer. So I have these two. This one's a higher delay, right, but higher damage, versus a slightly lower delay and slightly lower damage. Well, which one's better? Generally, these are going to be pretty close, actually, because they have the same power level. If you look at the HP, they're very close. That's why I always said the hit points are really what helps you determine the power level of an item, kind of. So if we look at this 30 or 68 divided by 1.8, these are super close, right? 37.7 versus 37.5. Like they're essentially right on. So technically you can have this in the main slot because it's a little bit better and it's faster. So anyway, that's how you can how you should look at your base damage and delay, so to speak, in determining what melee weapons are better. Casters are gonna be more focused on their focus off of their different focus slots. So like for instance, these gloves, these are universal gloves, so they're gonna have some from focus. But so you see these gloves, right, have the focus effect of this Fury of Shades or whatever, and this it increases damage of cold based spells by 15 to 60%. So that's huge. 60% spell damage increase on the your nukes. You know, the cold based nukes are gonna be huge, right? So you really want to look at your focus effects on your armor as a caster. So what am I doing here? I think the armor guy's around here somewhere. But if I don't know, I can always do that find feature, right? And I can look for the armor merchant. So we do that. Aha, I knew he was around here somewhere. So we have these two armor merchants. Let's see what the difference is here. Okay, so that's not gonna help me. All right, so we have the armor merchant here. He sells, and this is gonna be traditional for every expansion. You're gonna have this container, so to speak, that you're gonna need to buy. So I buy this container, right? It's gonna have a few slots open. For this particular expansion, I need to put one of these guys in here. I'm gonna have to close out of there. So I put one of these because in this expansion, these are the items that drop. You see legs, like this was a feet, like, and so I'm gonna take the feet item here. I'm gonna take the it's gonna need to be the leather version. I'm gonna take the boot leather version, okay? Because there's chain, there's leather, plate, and silk, depending on your class, right? So you'll need to look that up if you're not familiar. But by this time you probably are. So it's gonna cost me 10k because this is an upgrade version that I'm using. It's a tier 2 version. If I had the tier 1 version, I wouldn't need the pattern. But I don't, because I'm just jumping straight to it. And then I'm gonna need the purifying agent. In this particular one, you want to look, because there's gonna be multiple agents. But if you have this selected, it'll only be the only one you can use, which this one's monk. There's 2 classes per agent, so this is gonna be like ranger and druid. Dream is gonna be bard and enchanter, and so forth, right? Martialist is probably warrior, rogue. There you go. Like, so anyway, you take the agent here, you buy that. Okay, this costs another grand. Now you think, wow, that's a lot of money. Once you're at this level, literally almost every mob will drop like about 250 plat. Depending on the items that they're dropping that you can sell, especially like diamonds, any kind of gem you want to keep and sell, any kind of gem you find, because they generally are worth a lot. So keep those, sell them to merchants. So anyway, I'm going to combine this, and boom, I have a new foot, right? And it's going to be a bit better, even with the power source, stupid power source. It's going to be a bit better here. More AC, more hit points, better heroic stats. Once you start getting into higher levels, the yellow stats are the ones that matter, not these, because you're going to be max out. So I'm already at max stats, and then when I put these boots on, you'll see that my stamina is going to go up. Even my strength, because this is 7 strength, even though this has 30 and this has 15, you're going to notice that the strength is going to go up from 59 here. So let's find where I put that in there. So I went to 62 because it's 3 more heroic stat more than the boots that I had on at that moment. So because you start capping out, you notice here these are my cap. I'm capped out on that. So anything over that, I'm not going to get the white numbers from, but the heroic numbers can go above the stat cap. That's important to remember. All right, so that's how you get all the decent gear here. Generally, when you're starting out, is buying this kind of stuff. As you get more money, So I'll get my sleeves. I just need the one. Thank you. Purifying agent. I'm just gonna grab a couple of these because I need them for different suits. So then you just keep making your armor. I need to buy a new container also. Where'd you go? Wait. I'm missing something here. What am I missing? I don't know. Where's my container? There. There we go. Okay. So containers always have to be in the first slot there. So now we have our container. We got the sleeve. We have purifying agent, and then we need the arm wraps here. And if you're wondering, how you know what you need and so forth, again, you can look at that Alakazam website, and that'll tell you specifically, if you find a piece of gear like this, so formal head wraps of whatever, right? Just type in formal head wraps. Was that it? Maybe it wasn't head wraps. What was it? Oh, hand wraps. Hand wraps. So it already comes up for me here. And then it'll tell me what recipes it's for, right? So it's a recipe used in the following recipes. So these gloves here, it's for the wizard. You need the runic gloves and the formal hand wraps, or there's another recipe for the same item. It'll be the recipe I used, which is using a template instead, and then the formal head wraps, and then the item. That's why there's 2 different versions for this particular types, because one of them is going to be if you had the tier 1 version of the item, and then you upgrade it to a tier 2 version, you don't have to buy that other stuff. You just use the old version in the formal. But because I didn't have that, I had to use the way to kind of bypass that by buying the different formulas plus the drops from the enemy drop. So that's a decent way to find gear as you're leveling up, because you're going to kill named monsters. They're going to drop these items that you can't use right away. You have to build the armor for them. So once you're done with that, I'm not going to level in this zone, so I need to get out of here. Well, one of the easiest ways to leave an area for any class, for casters, yeah, you have your ability to gate, but for other classes, you're going to have the origin AA. It's under general in your AA window. It's a V. can hotbar that, hit origin, and that's going to take you to your home city, which should have a plane of knowledge gate in it, where you can then go to the guild hall or in any of the plane of knowledge zones. It's the primary hub you're going to always want to be going to. So like I said, starting out a heroic character, that the zone you first started in, that dream, the Ferrot dream, that's going to be a pretty decent leveling spot. But again, if maybe you get tired of that zone, you want to try some other level 85, 80 zone, something, just go to the zone guide. In game here is an excellent resource. Okay. And, go back to that. And in it, you can put in a level. So I'm level 85. You can even hit, or I'm not 85, I'm 88 on this team, but you would be 85. Or you can just hit my level instead of typing it in. And then you can clear that. It'll give you all the zones that are within that level range that have 85 in them. So maybe you don't want to you don't want to look at max level zones, but you want to look at like 85 to 90 zones, right? All these House of Thule type zones are gonna be really good. Again, that was the expansion that 85 to 90 occurred in. I just clicked on House of Thule zones. Okay, but then there's all these underfoot zones that are good for 85s. Maybe you want something a little bit easier, then you look at the zones that are max at 80, and maybe because you're soloing or something like that. And then you can set these as destinations. So it'll always put whatever zone you're in as a starting zone. And then say you want to say I want to go to Tusk. Okay. Heard that was a decent zone. So I set the end zone to that. It's going to tell me what zones, each and every one of them, to do. I activate my path. It's going to guide me step by step, kind of like Google Maps back in the day, right? So I need to hit the zone line for Crescent Reach. It put it on the map here. I'm running to it, and so forth. So that's a easy way to navigate through EverQuest when you don't know where you're going. For new players and returning players, is an excellent way to get to zones. Maybe you used to play a lot, but there's just so many new expansions and zones you don't know where to go to now. I would suggest using that zone guide, plug in the level, pick a zone, at random, or ask in general what is a good zone for your level. Then reference the zone guide with that. You don't have to ask people how to get there. Just use that zone guide to create paths for you. It'll tell you what zones you need to go to for what. Hopefully you already did the map pack that I showed you earlier in the video. And so you'll have the maps already, so you know how to navigate the zones to get to where you're looking to go. And that's the best way. And then you just start leveling up. Ask in general for groups. That's the best place to try to find groups, is asking in general. There's a looking for group tool that no one uses nowadays. It's actually kind of a sad thing. I wish there was a way to get the community to start using it again. But you just put in looking for group. LFG. I'm sorry. And it opens up this window /LFG, right? And you can put in even a comment. Essentially, you put it makes a classified for you, right? You're saying you're looking for a group, and you turn on looking for group so that people can actually do /who LFG, and they'll see it there too. But then you can also search for groups. If the group leader of a group happens to have this toggled on, you can actually look for them through that. So say I'm a player looking for a group, so blah, 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 right? And you can get matches, because this will show you what players are looking for group, and then what groups are looking for group, which there is none because nobody uses it. It's a great tool. Nobody uses it. I bet if it was automatic, like the WoW looking for group tool, I'm sure people use it more often. just queue up a group, I guess. But it's a little more mechanical, and so people don't use it. So generally, people are just going to say, looking for group in general chat, and go from there. Okay. So again, I'm going to stop this particular filter, because I don't want. Oh, you can filter it that way. Oh, neat. Want to clear path. There we go. So that clears it. Because I already know where I want to go and find. Want to go to the dream, right? All right, so we're in the dream. There's a whole bunch of different camps. Mobs are stag spawns around different areas and whatnot. So generally, I'll go, over this area here or something. But you choose where you want to go, and that's kind of the basic guide of kind of like EverQuest. There's a blue mob, so should be easy with me and my merc. Depending on what settings you have set up here. So I can just start attacking. And let's see here. That is the thing I wanted to move over. Let's see here. Is it system messages? No. Let's see here. What is it? Is it... I can't use on random. Aha, under spells. Well, we need to just do spells all over anyway. That would have brought it over here, so it'd spam in here instead of in here. So, like I said, it's if you didn't move all the stuff over, you get this kind of stuff in your social chat. That sucks. I like having my social separated from my technical information, you know what I mean? But yeah, you just start, there's obvious camps also. Like if I go down here, I'm going to end up getting into the undead froglock area. And so that's a really good camp to actually pull like different mobs from and so forth. So we're just gonna move on down here, and then you'll see them all around here. There's some spiders I can start fighting too. You can pull them to the safety of a wall so that they're not, you don't get roamers or something like that. But yeah, you just keep plugging away, and eventually you get more levels, more money. Always make sure you want to loot the stuff. You see the last one I fought, dropped a blue diamond. From first mob we fought, right? Blue diamond. Okay, so you loot that up. So now I have a blue diamond. They sell very well, very well. We were talking about, needing like, a couple thousand plat for different items when you're starting out. Well, blue diamond sells for 250 plat. So if you got even 4 of these, you already have 1,000. So it's definitely, like I said, loot gems, but you can loot everything really and sell them as you go. You know what I mean? As you fill up or whatever, sell them. Generally, if you're in a group, there'll be a master looter who will gather all the loot and then sell it and split the proceeds with everyone. So in this case, the second mob dropped a Nightmare Ruby. Again, really great. Selling, I think this is a quest item, so I'm not going to loot it. But I'm gonna. I have. What's the word? I have veteran stuff, so I have stuff that perhaps other people don't. But so I can summon. Doing that. Need a veteran. This guy. So veteran is a thing in Everquest based on the amount of time you've subscribed to the game. Every year there's a new veteran ability that they add to the game. I have a bunch because I've been playing Everquest for a long time. But I can summon myself a resupply agent, which will allow me to sell. So I summon this guy right to me. I don't have to go to a merchant or anything. And I just want to show you like that these really do sell well. So this blue diamond here, he's going to give me, you can see 238 platinum, right? So you sell that. This ruby, not as great, but still quite a bit of money. So plat isn't really that hard to generate. You just got to make sure you loot and sell. There's definitely different areas when you're leveling up that are better, particularly before heroic tunes. If you're an actual new player, like our friend in the chat is, that you're starting off at level 1. There are places that drop more gems generally, and you can look that up on, again, Alakazam. It'll tell you what zones stuff drop in, and what mobs they come from. That'll give you a good indication. Blue diamonds are very common, but you know, could be from anywhere. But that's it, guys. Just look at your different abilities, slot them to the bar. Look at your AAs, go over your class. You can look online for class guides and so forth for your class. They'll generally tell you how different people have different things set up. You can even make multiple windows. So if you don't want your melee to be in the same window as your spell effects, you can just move all the melee stuff into one window. And then you see all the spell effects going off, like this healer is healing me, you know, for X amount. Strike through, it seems, is still filtering into this window, so sure which one that's going for. But anyway, it's a fun game. It's a fun game, guys. It's fun to explore with a group for sure. You know, I'm not looking for a group because I want to get committed to a group, but you know, just looking for a group in general. Make some friends. There's even a new player when you're just starting out a very brand new tune. There's a new player channel, which is a really great resource. It'll help you with all the new players that are in the game. Oh man, look at that. I mean, even this silk stuff I would sell. I'm not going to, just because, that's a quest item, but anything that's not a quest item I would sell, but I'm not going to, just because I don't need the money that bad. But like I said, like, you know, these blue diamonds sell. Oh man, so good. I love it. So anyway, guys, that's where I'm gonna end this video. I hope this was helpful to anyone. You know, apologize if I rambled, whatever. EverQuest is definitely a complex game. This video is generally designed just to be really into really specific stuff for setting up the thing, just getting into it. So I hope you guys all have a great day, and thank you for watching. Take care. Make sure to follow me on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/the_nerd_navigator. I'm also on YouTube at YouTube/the_nerd_navigator, all one word. I hope you guys have a great day. And yeah.